Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and thank you so much for clicking this video. I want to do like a little bit of a chat, sort of casual video. I'm going to talk about some books that I've read and some books that I plan to read, but I don't know. I want to kind of catch up because I feel like it's been yet again a while since I made my last video. I don't know what's been going on the last month, but I feel like I have been like barely reading, and I think I might have said this in my last video too, that I don't know. I have definitely been a bit busier the last 2 weeks that I can kind of recall, but I don't know what's been going on the last month-ish, but I feel like I've been reading barely like a book a week, which I know to some people is definitely still a lot. I feel like I always have to say that, but it's not a lot for me. And I usually, or used to, earlier in this year even, when I felt like I was still kind of busy, but I feel like I was reading like 2 or 3 books a week or so. There was like a good point in maybe February or March where I was reading a lot. And now it's just been a bit of a struggle to finish a single book. And there have been some things going on in my life, some positive, some less so, that have definitely just made reading a bit more of a struggle. You know, I said this in my last video, I think sometimes I just get back from work and I don't know, I want to just shut my brain off. I don't want to read even a fiction book that's kind of like for fun is not something I really want to open up. Whether it's, I don't know, something I need to read for a prize or want to read for a prize or anything. I just feel like I'd rather put on an episode of King of the Hill. And last weekend I went to a 4-day long music festival and it was amazing. It was so fun, but I was very busy all those days. Like it started on Thursday and ended on Sunday. So I was at work on Thursday and Friday, and then pretty much immediately after work, I was going to this festival, and then Saturday there was like an early show and a later show, so I was gone most of the day then. It was really just, I think, Sunday where I had a bit more of a relaxed sort of morning before the show started at around 7 p.m. It was also my first time going to like a multi-day long music festival, so I was not prepared for how tired I would be. And I wore heels one of the days, and that was just like a huge mistake. But yeah, so there's been stuff like that. There's just been, I've said like work. I work pretty normal hours, but there's a bit of a commute. Sometimes there's a few things I do after work parts of the week. And so when I get back from like those activities, I also don't really feel like reading all the time. So anyway, there it is. I just have not been reading too much, but I did just finish a book not too long ago, and I'm almost done another book. So I'm very excited, and I'm going on vacation soon. However, I don't think this is quite the vacation for reading, but I'm hoping to have some time on the plane and like traveling kind of part of it to read, because there will be a lot of that at least. I always pack like 4 or 5 books on any kind of trip, whether I think it might be a relaxing or a busier trip, and I end up usually not getting through more than like a book and a half at best. But it is what it is. I'm gonna pack probably at least 4 books and we'll see what happens. But before I go, there is 1, maybe 2 books I would like to finish reading. A coworker of mine lent me The Overstory by Richard Powers. Honestly, I think it might have been like 2 months ago, and I feel really, really bad because I'm usually really good actually. When people lend me books, like 99% of the time I start them like the week of, because I feel bad holding on to other people's books. And I will never forget, I lent someone a book from one of my favorite series in, I think, grade 6 or so. I lent it to her like sometime in June, so close to the end of the school year, and she held on to it for the whole summer, and I was just so nervous I would not get this book back. And I think it was like the first day of school in the 7th grade when she did give it back to me. I did get this book back, and it was like in fine condition, but like we weren't super close friends, so like we didn't talk. I don't know, I didn't have her number. This was before cell phones, so like obviously I didn't have one, and maybe we had each other on like MSN, but again, we weren't really friends. We didn't talk. We were just like reading the same book series, and I happened to own some of these books, so she and some other people were like borrowing them from me. And yeah, I was just so nervous. So I don't like to do that to people. I think that's like something ingrained in me because of that. And obviously I see my coworker pretty much every day, or talk to her pretty much every day, so like she can check up on it. But I still feel bad. I still feel like I should give it back sooner. But I was reading, when she lent it to me, I was getting so many books from the library, most of them for the Women's Prize for Fiction. So I was prioritizing a lot of these library books that had a lot of holds on them, so I knew I wouldn't be able to renew them really. And yeah, anyway, this just got kind of left behind until I started it a couple weeks ago, and it's kind of a long book, so it has taken me a while to read, and I had a bit of a slow start with it as well. It has really picked up kind of the middle of the book. I was like, okay, this is actually pretty good. The first bit was just a little bit like, I don't know, it was a lot of separated stories. It read like a lot of short stories, and I honestly thought that that's what the whole book was going to be. This book is about trees, about the natural world, and kind of how a group of people connects over events in their life that have kind of brought them closer and made them like more sensitive or caring towards nature. And the first quarter of this book is really just these people's backstories, and you start even as far as like the 17 or 1800s with some of these families, and then you kind of get to like who the main character will be and the impact that the past has had on them, like through nature, through trees, mostly, not for everyone. There's actually a couple characters where so far they haven't really met up with like a lot of the rest of like this group, and I'm curious like what role they will play. But yeah, it just feels like a lot of separate, disconnected stories until, yeah, like you're a bit more than a quarter of the way in, and it really picks up. Some of these characters start meeting each other, and yeah, there's like a protest against cutting down trees is kind of what this is really centered about, and sort of putting emphasis on the rights of like all living things and the importance of caring for all living things. And I'm enjoying it so far. It's interesting to get like the perspective of people like very interested in preserving the natural world. And this author, I don't know anything about this author, so I don't know if these are like his views too, or if he just did like a lot of research on eco warriors or people who are very like caring about, yeah, like I said, the natural world and like forest preservation. But it seems pretty well researched, or maybe based on experience. I have about 150 pages left, so I'm thinking I will finish it sometime this weekend or by Tuesday, and I'll be able to give it to my coworker next week before I leave on my trip. And yeah, I'm glad that I read this, and I'm enjoying it more than I did at the start. And the second book that I would like to start and finish before I go on my trip is Brotherless Night by Vivi Ganeshananthan, and this is one of the shortlisted books for the Women's Prize for Fiction. I have not started it yet, like I said, but I'm very excited about this one. This is one that captured my interest when the prize was first announced, so I'm looking forward to finally getting to it. It is a bit of a longer book too, so I'm not sure about my prospects of finishing it before I go on the trip, but it is a library book, and it is kind of like a bigger book, so I don't know if I really want to bring it along with me, so I'm hoping maybe I'll have some time on like Tuesday, Wednesday to sort of finish it, but we'll see. I've heard a lot of good things about this one, some people saying that this deserves to win the Women's Prize for Fiction. I believe it just won the Carol Shields Prize, which is not a prize I really follow too well. Someone mentioned it, I think, in my comments because another book I reviewed, Daughter by Claudia Day, was nominated. So I went and checked it out, but I wasn't super aware of this prize until recently. So I don't know too much about it, but I think this one was definitely like nominated or shortlisted, but I'm not 100% sure about all the details there. But yeah, I'm excited to read this. So like I said, I'm planning on bringing maybe 4 books on my trip, and I haven't fully figured out which ones they will be. It will be a little bit dependent on whether I finish Brotherless Night or not, because if I start it on like Tuesday or something and then I don't finish it, I will probably bring it, I just don't really want to. But I do want to for sure bring 3 Summers by Margarita Liberaki. I bought this book, I've talked about it on this channel before. I bought it in Greece when I was there last September. There was sort of this like book festivals maybe, I don't want to say a generous word, it was really cool, but it wasn't like a festival, but there was essentially like a giant book sale, and it was called like a reading group, a reading club. It was really cool on the island of Hydra that I went to, and this is one of the like 5 books I bought. I've only read one of the 5 books, so I don't know, this book has just been like staring me down. It's in like a part of my bookshelf where I just like look at it pretty much every time that I sit on the couch. I love this cover. I love the like feel of this book. I don't know, like the material, it's hard to explain. It feels like very papery and old. It's definitely like a newer copy. It's not an old book. It's not a used book, but something like it gives older used book vibes. And yeah, it's just a story about 3 sisters growing up across, I believe, 3 summers around at the time, I think, of World War II. And I don't know, I'm just really interested in reading it. This book takes place near Athens, and ever since like visiting Greece, I've enjoyed reading about it. One of the books that I read, that I bought on this trip, was taking place in Hydra. This one does not, obviously, but I'm still really looking forward to reading about like that point in history and Greece in general. I don't know, I just want to get to this one. It's like looking at me and it's like, you need to read me. Another book that I feel like has been kind of staring me at the face is My Work by Olga Raven. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name right. She wrote the book The Employees, which was shortlisted for the International Booker Prize. I don't think it won, but it's definitely shortlisted. And what a weird, interesting science fiction book. This one seems like a completely different topic on motherhood, about a young family who has a young child that moves to, I'm looking at the back right now, yes, Stockholm. I knew it was somewhere in Sweden, but I wasn't 100% sure if it was Stockholm. And their relationship seems to sort of unravel at that point. Obviously, it will be about the difficulties of motherhood. I'm curious if I will like this one more than Soldier Sailor, which I didn't love, but it also represented like some difficulties in motherhood and sort of the unraveling of a relationship. Curious how this one will go. I just picked it up a little randomly. I mean, I recognized the author obviously, and I liked her last book, so I was like, why not? I love the cover. I don't know, it's so beautiful. The covers get me a lot of the time. But I bought this in Toronto around Christmas. And again, like I meant to start it sooner, although there's books I've owned for far longer that I have not yet gotten to. So I'm trying to be more conscious about that. I don't actually remember the last time I bought a book. It might have been And Then She Fell. And yeah, I'm trying to be really mindful. I did pick up a book at a little free library recently, but I think unless like I love it, I will give it back. And I also don't have any plans of reading it super soon, so we'll see. But I did actually start this book. I got to like page 4 or page 6, wow, like weeks or months ago, right around the time I think that the Women's Prize for Fiction was announced. And I was like, honestly, doesn't matter that I'm like going to be reading through this whole list or a lot of this list. I want to start this. But then I didn't get past page 6. So I'm going to be restarting it, and I would like to bring this one on my trip. So hopefully I can report back on some of these at some point. They are books that I've been wanting to get to for some time, but just I'm so bad about it. Like when I have library books, like those just take precedence. And like there are other library books I still have in my home. There's another Women's Prize for Fiction shortlisted book, another book that I just like want to get to soon. But I want to prioritize these books that I own as well. And I'd like to talk about one book that I finished recently and that I really liked. And this was a book I talked about in another video of mine. I think it was one of my like anticipated reads of 2024 list actually, which I'm very excited that I got to one of them, because I feel like I was looking at that list and these are books that I'm genuinely excited for, but I often look at like new releases and then don't get to a lot of them because I am reading older books, either books that were like shortlisted or longlisted for a prize or books that I bought a while ago. So I just don't get to a lot of new releases, at least not until the next year. So I'm very excited to have gotten to this one. That book is Beautyland by Marie-Helene Bertino. I saw someone that I follow in Goodreads rate this book and the cover really grasped me. That's I think how I found it and was like, I'm putting this on my to read for 2024 list. And yeah, again, so glad that I got to it. This is a book about a baby, well, an alien that is born into a human baby's body with like a human mother on Earth, whose job or task, I guess maybe is a better word, is to really just record like any sort of information about humans and send it to her, I don't know, her planet, her superiors. She gets activated at the age of 4, so she recognizes that she is an alien. She has these sort of like visits from these aliens who tell her what's up, and she is communicating with them via fax machine primarily. She's writing these notes, her observations, I guess is maybe the best word, on humans and what it means to be human, what it means to like live on Earth, because this other planet is kind of trying to figure out, should we come here? And it was just a very lovely book. It was very easy to read. It was very funny, and it's kind of divided into different parts of her life. So there's quite a decent amount where she is this young child. She's very curious. She's very sensitive. And very lonely too. Like you can really tell from the start. One of the class assignments early on in the book is for them to draw a picture of where they're from. And I mean, she's from New Jersey, but she draws a picture of the stars, of the sky, because she's an alien and she's not from Earth. I teared up, or like I felt very emotional through a lot of parts of this book. There are sad things that happen. There are really happy things that happen too. She's a very like sensitive person, I will say. It was interesting because there's a point where you realize she's in high school, but she still kind of gives off like 8-year-old vibes. And I wonder if this sort of like speaks to some sort of innocence that she has, or like being sensitive and sort of observations she's making about humanity, that she's not engaging so much in these like typical, well, when you're a teenager, you're not really an adult, but you start caring more about adult things. And when she was an adult too, I feel like she didn't read like an 8-year-old as much, but she definitely read like a lot younger than she actually was. And through her experiences, like she makes friends, she has a relationship with her mother. She is definitely confused about like romantic relationships. And I mean, that was interesting to read about too. But yeah, I don't know. It made me feel really nostalgic as well, like reading about her childhood. Obviously, I was not an alien as a child, or currently. That was such a weird way of wording that. But I think there's a lot of confusion that I felt, and that probably a lot of children feel growing up, maybe most, if not all, that was really well sort of illustrated going from when she was like a very young child to a teenager, and I just really saw myself in a lot of that, and I felt a bit weirdly nostalgic, but also not for it. Like, I don't really miss being a child, as difficult as aspects of adulthood are. I think there's a lot of like freedom that comes with it too, and also, I don't know, I mean, I'm definitely not like got everything figured out. I'm still confused about certain things. Sometimes I'll have an interaction with a person and be like, did I do a good job of that? Like, to bring it back to like the festival, like I did talk to some people, I met some new people. There were some really, like, everyone was really nice, but I definitely felt like, oh, am I doing this like making friend thing right? Am I don't know, communicating myself well? Am I just sounding like really annoying? And I mean, I felt like 10 times that when I was a child. I did not have like very many close friends until closer to the end of middle school. And I was just always feeling like I was messing something up. So this book kind of brought back those feelings in like both negative and positive ways, and I really appreciated it for that. Like, I very much saw myself in the main character, Adina. And I think it just, a lot of this book speaks to like the human experience, and obviously we're all going through it differently, and some people have things figured out a little bit more than others. I'm sure there's some things I have figured out more than other people do, and vice versa, and that just, it is what it is. Also, I also felt like a little sad when she was like leaving parts of her life, like when she first leaves home. But you know, like that was me, and like I felt like a parent at that point of being like, oh no, like you're leaving the house you grew up in and this like city you lived in, and like you're going off to do something else. And I bet like that's how my parents felt when I first left like to university, and not to mention like moving across the country now. But yeah, I highly recommend this book. I feel like I've been talking about it for a while now. It just like brought so many emotions forth, and it was a really great book. One of my favorites that I've read this year. I feel like there have been like 3 or 4 books I've really enjoyed this year. I'm sure I'll do like a wrap up towards the end of the year, maybe halfway through the year. Maybe I'll do something in like June, July to be like, here's what I've liked so far. I feel like there haven't been too many standouts, but this was definitely one of them, and so I recommend it for sure. I'm going to wrap up this video soon, but I would also like to say thank you so much like to everyone watching and to all my subscribers. I noticed a little while ago that I reached and surpassed by a tiny bit 100 subscribers, and I know that's not a huge number, but it's very exciting for me. I've been making these videos for a little over a year now, and I know I don't do it very regularly, and I know I could probably be doing a better job at some things, and I'm still learning a lot, and I feel like I will be for a while because I just don't have the time to, I don't know, maybe educate myself on technology as well as I should. But I appreciate everyone so much for watching, for subscribing. If you've shared this video, I appreciate you the most. If you've gotten someone else to watch it, then you are actually so wonderful. And again, it means a lot. Like, I've said this before, I think, that I just kind of started this because I like talking about books, and I mean, I already do that with some of my friends and my partner, but I wanted, I don't know, I just wanted an outlet for it. I feel like there was a while where I was just talking about it with my partner, and it was like books he wasn't reading, so it was like very nice of him that he was like listening and like he cares, I'm sure, to an extent, obviously, but it's nice to talk about books with maybe some other people who have read them, like especially for the most recent videos I've done on the Women's Prize for Fiction. Like, I've gotten a few comments, people being like, yeah, I liked this book, or I also didn't like this book, or you're wrong about Soldier Sailor, which is totally, like, it's wonderful to get that sort of interaction, because I don't have that in my real life as much. I don't read as many of the same books as some of the people that I surround myself with do. And I mean, I get recommendations from coworkers or friends sometimes, and sometimes we overlap a bit, but yeah, I don't know. It means a lot that I don't know, there's people who are watching this, and I'm not just like totally shouting out to the void, and like, it's fine if I'm not like, I don't know, reaching thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, but I think I would be like, it would be a lie to say that like I wouldn't be sad if I wasn't reaching anybody. Like, I would be. I'm happy that I'm reaching some people. I'm very happy when I get comments and like people engaging, especially because it just like feels like a bit of a conversation, and like someone sharing their thoughts and I'm kind of sharing mine. So like, I really appreciate that. But obviously, like, seeing like that I have views on videos, like, it feels nice, and I'm not obsessing about it to the point of like, oh, I need like hundreds and hundreds and thousands more. But yeah, it's nice. So thank you so much to everyone who's watched. This has been a bit of a ramble, but I did kind of want to make this to say thank you and to kind of catch up and just do a little bit of a chat. So I will probably end it here because this is getting long. I probably won't have any videos out until I come back from my trip early in June. I don't know if I will make like another trip video because I really truly don't think I'll be reading that much or buying any books, but we'll see. But yes, thank you again so much for watching. I would love to know what you're reading. If any of the books I have read, am reading, planning to read, spark any interest, or you've heard about before, please leave a comment about that. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Share the video with a friend. Again, I think you are the coolest person if you do, because it means a lot. And yeah, I will catch you in the next video, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.